Hello, I'm Stan Hustad, coming to you again from the Christian Entrepreneur Network. And it's just about Christmas Eve. And so, perhaps on this Christmas Eve day or evening, I'd just like to share with you a little story that I've shared for many years. It goes back many years ago when I was reading the Christmas story through one of my old copies of a Bible called the New Testament in Modern English by a man named J.B. Phillips, one of the very first of the newer modern translations, and I still think probably one of the best. And as a result of the story framework there, and particularly the wording, I was deeply moved and touched. And so I came up with a little story that I've told for many years called, Would You Like to Be Touched by an Angel? Yeah, would you like to be touched by an angel? Well, some of you remember where I got it from. Obviously, the case was that in North America at least, and I think it had some worldwide coverage, was a TV program called Touched by an Angel. And what it was about was that somebody was in trouble. Somebody was in a mess. Somebody was trying to figure something out. And God sent one of His angels to help them. And then to not only help them, but to reveal themselves to them. And for them to realize that for sure God was at work in their life and in their world. And they were special enough. Think about that. They were special enough that the God of the universe would send one of His key messengers to help them, to encourage them, to give them direction, to help them, and even help them when there was no help and perhaps they were not going to survive. But even in the non-survival, there would be the help and the grace of God for all eternity. It was a wonderful, obviously it's one of those things that sophisticated people will make fun of, but it would very much stir the mind and, as I say, move the spirit and certainly touch the heart. Would you like to be touched by an angel? Well, of course, many of you have caught, as I've often caught, the modern disease of skepticism. We say, well, that was a good story, but it doesn't really happen. It certainly wouldn't happen. I don't know anybody that's happened to it. I can't think it happened to me. Well, maybe at this Christmas time, maybe we should try and see again, perhaps, that maybe we could be touched by an angel. And what would that be like? What would it be like to be touched by an angel? That's where Mr. Phillips helped me. Because in the three stories of Christmas that an angel has significant appearance, and I found another one which is a little bit different, but that's a subject for another story. There were three great angel appearances. And the first one comes to an old man named Zechariah, who's kind of lost hope. He's been a good man, godly man, worked hard all of his life, doing what he can to serve God. And he's in the sanctuary of the temple, and an angel comes to him and says, Zechariah, don't be afraid. Well, of course, you got to say that because this is scary. Don't be afraid, Zechariah. God's heard your prayer. Zechariah, your prayer has been heard. Wow, your prayer has been heard. It's actually been listened to. God listens to you. He's heard your prayer. And the thing that you've wanted all your life, you and Elizabeth have given up on your long life hope for a child. But at this old age and stage, a miracle's going to take place and you're going to become a father. And Elizabeth's going to become a mother. And not only that, but the child is going to be called, not Zechariah Jr., it's going to be called John. And he is going to announce the very salvation of his people. He's got big things in his life, and God has great plans for him, and it's your child. And that was the announcement, of course, of the birth of John the Baptizer, the cousin of Jesus, who will announce his coming. But Zechariah, don't be afraid, because your prayer has been heard. Isn't it nice to, right now, if you're like me, I'm not just saying this for you, I'm doing it because I sometimes have to remind myself of this. It's not just for me to tell you, it's for me to remember what I've said before. Your prayer has been heard. Don't worry. Don't fret. Don't be afraid. Your prayer has been heard. Then all of a sudden, the good news happens. And then an angel comes to a young woman, probably no more than a teenager. Her name is Mary, and says, Mary, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. God loves you dearly. God loves you dearly. Isn't that nice to hear? So don't be afraid. And of course, she gets that incredible word. Talk about a mind-blowing word. You're going to become pregnant, and it's God who is the father of this new child that's going to be born, and it's going to be the one that God is going to use to save his people and to bring his kingdom on earth. And she's overwhelmed and scared. What's going to happen to me? I don't know a man. I've never had any relationships. How can this be? Don't be afraid, Mary. God loves you dearly. Then, of course, we know the final scene. That was not an easy pregnancy for Mary and Joseph. Oh, can you imagine the agony, maybe the ecstasy, but the agony, wondering what's going to happen. And then when the time comes for the baby to be born, they have to go off and walk all the way to Bethlehem because they got to pay their taxes. And you know the story. As I say, God's a bit of a jokester. Bethlehem. Not Babylon, not Damascus, not Jerusalem, not Rome. God says, I'm going to do my work in a little burg of a town, Bethlehem. But it's from the relationship that you will have to David. Great mystery. Something new and unique is up, but don't be afraid. Because all of a sudden the angels will announce that. Men and women, probably boys and girls, and they're not the cream of the crop. To be a shepherd was to be like a real cowboy. It wasn't something glamorous. It wasn't something wonderful. It was, these were not the cream of the crop. These were people doing the night shift, doing hard, dirty work at difficult times. No royalty there, just shepherds. Grungy old shepherds, dirty, working with dirty animals. Oh my. Don't be afraid. God is with you. God is with you. With us? We're just shepherds. And of course, the story continues on, and they have the gift well in hand. They know what to do. They go down and they bow down. Because God is with them. And God has obviously got something planned for this child here. Sure don't know what it is, but we do know that we better be involved. And there we go. Don't be afraid. God is with us. And later on, we're going to find out that it's even more than that. Not only is God with us, but God is one of us. That we'll discover a little bit later. That the child is not some ninja who just happens to be in a little baby body and then is going to grow up to be some kind of Superman. No, he's one of us. I'd just like to share that with you. If you're going through a remembrance of things that might not be everything you want them to be, but perhaps it'll be an aspiration to what could be. Remember, at this Christmas time, you could be touched by an angel. You might be. You might not recognize it. But please keep in mind the God who sent angels at that time is the same God who sends good stuff at this time. Nothing's changed there. So don't be afraid. Your prayer's been heard. Don't be afraid. God loves you dearly. Hey, and even at work, don't be afraid. God is with you, and God cares for you. I think that's the message of Christmas in its most human form. An angel comes and says to each and every one of us, don't be afraid. You're heard, you're loved, you're not alone. You're heard, you're loved, and you're not alone. And it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All the best and blessings. We'd like to help you as 2020 approaches. If we at the Christian Entrepreneur Network in some way can help you, maybe be a bit of an angel to you in your life and business, we would welcome that opportunity. Just let us know. Again, best and blessings. And may it be not just a Merry Christmas, but a don't be afraid. God's here, God hears, and God loves kind of day just for you. I'm Stan Hustad. Bye for now.